How would you like to play God of War on an RTX 3080 in the cloud? Or any other game that you feel like? Today we have a look at an A10G cloud PC. Hey Cloud Gamers, and welcome to the Cloud Gaming Extreme channel. Today we are having a look at AirGPU's new offerings, including A10Gs. These are the RTX 3080 equivalents, and it's the A10G that you see in use on the RTX 3080 tier on GeForce NOW. Of course, this comes at a cost on a cloud PC, but it is a full-blown PC. So the prices that you're seeing here are for all of the rigs available. So you can see we've got the T4 models, which are similar to the Shadow PCs, but with either 4 or 8 GPUs. We have the V520s, which are the AMD 5700 equivalents, and then the A10Gs, which are the RTX 3080 equivalents. So I'm actually going to be looking at the A10GL here. So we got the 16 GPUs, 64 gig of RAM, and the equivalent of the RTX 3080. Now, as I said, this does come at a cost, and there's only a few data centers with the A10Gs available right now, and you can see it through their list on their site once you've created a basic account. Regardless of which machine you take, if you use the code CGXTREME, and I'll leave that in the description below as well, you will get 10% off your first credit purchase. So do use that code to get your 10% discount, and you will really help out the channel at the same time. This is the A10GL. So it's 64 gig of RAM, 16 virtual CPUs, and also I've upped the stream to 4K 60 to give me 40 megabits of bandwidth. And I'll show you why you don't actually need this in just a second at 1440, but it does allow you to stream up to 4K quite happily. If you do want to save a bit of money, you can use the 30% discount, but you may lose your session if it gets busy and you'll get kicked off without much notice. So if you want a dedicated machine, you will need to untick the spare server capacity, which makes this machine at $4.30 an hour. Yes, you heard me correctly, $4.30 an hour. And that's with 256 gig of storage as well. So one thing to bear in mind is your storage price is separate. So you'll be paying a flat daily rate, $7 a month extra for every 256, and you'll also pay a little bit extra for that 4K streaming, but if you're at 1440 then 20 megabits is actually more than enough, which I'll show you in just a sec. So that's how much it all costs. How well does it actually play? Well, unfortunately we haven't managed to get the A10 working with Moonlight Streamer or Game Stream, so we are limited to Parsec. But the download rate is also absolutely phenomenal. You can see they've got 167 meg peak on the screenshot here. And if you look at the bitrate streaming at 1440 max settings, we're hitting that 20 megabit bitrate. But it doesn't really go above that, so 4K is a bit overkill if you're only on PC. But if you want to stream to a TV, then that 4K will come in useful. Lastly, looking at the latency settings here, because I'm in the Dublin data center and I'm in the UK, I'm getting a network ping of around 21 milliseconds and a decode at 5. So I'm sitting at around 25 milliseconds in total, which is absolutely phenomenal. So let's have a look at some Cyberpunk 2077 footage here then. It's all on max settings, as you can see here, with ray tracing on ultra and DLSS on quality. VSync is off. Motion blur is off, and those horrible details are all off. As you can see, moving around, one thing is for sure, this game looks absolutely fantastic still, and this is being streamed in the cloud. But you will see that my FPS has dropped down into the 40s in the busy town centre. So it's still not pushing 60 frames per second consistently in the cloud, but Parsec doing an absolutely fantastic job here. And although it can do up to 120 frames per second, it does seem to cap at 60, and I don't understand why. But moving around, even though it dips into the 40 frames per second, it is absolutely super smooth and is a great experience to play. As you'll see here, when I jump on the bike and start driving around, we do go up to 60 frames per second. Although we see the dips in the frames moving around, you don't feel any stutter actually in the game. As that latency is only 25 milliseconds, it does feel local when you're moving around with the keyboard and mouse, and it is just a joy to use. As you can see driving around there, we actually dip into the high 30 frames per second, But as we get out into the wider areas, we do get that 60 frames per second a lot more constantly. So this is a bit of a performance hit on Cyberpunk, and bear in mind that the CPU here is just a generic AMD EYC server cluster, so it's not the most optimum processor for running the A10. So let's switch over to God of War, and this certainly goes the other way. This pretty much stays at that 60 frames per second cap all of the time. Now it's running absolutely max ultra settings here with God of War, and I haven't even enabled DLSS, as I wanted to see just how high we could push this. This is definitely a huge improvement for Parsec, as it's not missing a single beat. No frame stutter, no pixelation. This is the best I've ever seen Parsec since that 150/78 update. Really does improve the stream a lot. Now, one thing that I still don't understand is, although that this is uncapped, the stream still seems to be capped at 60 frames per second, and it seems to almost be a game cap. But VSync is off, and I can't seem to get the frames above 60, even though it's definitely more than capable. As you can see, at least it holds a rock steady 60 frames per second, and God of War looks absolutely fantastic here. Highly recommend this game, by the way. It is really good fun. If you don't have a PlayStation, God of War is probably one of the best genres to come to PC from PlayStation. But as you can see here, the graphics are absolutely flawless, and it does hold 60 frames per second almost absolutely rock solid. So if you do want to try AirGPU, they have a wait time of around 1 week currently, and they do have data centers all across the globe, so do go and check out their website. And don't forget to use that code CGXTREME for your 10% discount on your first credit purchase. Let us know in the comments below whether the A10G is worth the price, or whether you will settle for one of the lower machines on AirGPU. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button to stay up to date with all things cloud gaming, and we will see you next time.